lately. Good morning, folks. There we go. Okay, so we are doing, let's see. This is easy for you folks to see and less easy for them to see. Now you can really smell it, Renee. This is going to be a very smelly class. So be sure to take care of yourself as this class is going. It can be a little bit like extremely aromatic. If you start noticing that you're getting a headache or feeling sleepy, we have the fans going and all of that. But yeah, just be aware that it's slowly going to increase in aromatics in here, and that can be a bit much. So what we're going to be looking at today, good morning folks online. Why are you doing that? Hold on. Oh, okay, that's good. So I'm going to be demonstrating the making of hydrosols at home. So hydrosols are a way of, hydrosols are a way of using essential oils, of accessing the medicine, the benefits of essential oils without the cost and the impact of essential oils. It's really fun using aromatic plants. The problem is that the processing of essential oils is really one of the most one of the least sustainable practices, particularly when it comes to plants that we don't have an abundance of. So if there is a plant that we do not have an abundance of, it is really best not to be working with an essential oil of that plant, because any essential oil takes a very large amount of plant material. But if you want to work with an aromatic plant in a different way, hydrosols are a great way of doing that, because you are able to make a significant amount of medicine, of the product, with a relatively small amount of plant material. You can make it at home, and it is much more respectful to the plant. It's also safer to use. So there's a lot of people who are really interested in the internal use of essential oils, and even the topical use of essential oils, but undiluted. And again, really strong medicine, really, really powerful. Good morning, Sue. Oh, you got the message. Good. I'm glad. Yeah. Let me know how the foot soaks work. I was talking with Sue, who's in Australia. Don't be mad at me, Sue. Is it Australia or New Zealand? It's Australia. It's Australia. So you're like, it's 2 a.m. for Sue right now, I think, or something like that. But I was talking about, I hope you don't mind if I share this, because it's really, really helpful info. Is this okay if I share, Sue? Australia, okay, good. A younger person who doesn't want to take things by mouth, right? It's always a challenge to get kids to take things by mouth. Taking teas, tinctures, glycerides, infused honeys, electuaries. I'm sure, Sue, you're like trying everything in the world, making Zoom balls, making it yummy, putting it in lemonade, doing everything you can. And there are some kids who just will not. And there is, actually, Sue, I'm glad that you're on. Hold on just a moment. There is a book. I did not spell his name correctly, but this is the herbalist that I was telling you about, Sue. Maurice Messaguet was a French herbalist, active in the 40s, 50s, about that. He was the herbalist to the stars and to royalty. This book is actually a fascinating book about his practice as an herbalist. But his primary method of treatment was foot baths. He would take big foot baths and do foot baths up to the knee. Deep foot baths, long soaking foot baths. Transdermal absorption of nutrients. You can absorb a pretty good amount through the skin.
So are foot baths like a real thing that really works?
Foot baths can be a real thing for a limited amount of some compounds, mostly aromatic, small molecular weight compounds that can be absorbed transdermally. A whole bunch of stuff can't be absorbed through the skin, but some can. So we're talking about absorption. The whole foot bath as a detox protocol, nah, that's not a thing. That's not how the body detoxifies, and that's not how that works. So this is not a class about foot baths. We'll do a class on foot baths another time, because that is also a really fun class. But this is a class about distillation. Because Sue and I have been chatting online, thank you. Thank you for letting me share that info. Would foot baths still be dehydrating, drying for the body, as most herbs are drying? So yes, because it's long-term. Just set it right there, thank you. Because it's a long-term application. Short-term application of water is hydrating to the skin, but long-term application of water, especially warm water, is ultimately drying to the body. It's going to be moving fluids out of the body. That's why after you soak for a long time in like a hot tub or a hot springs or anything like that, oftentimes you're like really, really thirsty. If it was hydrating, then you'd be like, I am fine. I've got all of the moisture that I need. Hi. But no. Dehydrating. So yes, you're going to want to replenish that, but it's not going to be the same as if you were taking those herbs internally, because there's different ways that we activate fluid and mechanics in the body, and activation of the kidneys and the lymphatic system and all of that doesn't come into play in a foot bath. All right, that's enough about foot baths. No more about foot baths, but we will totally do a foot bath class absolutely for y'all. All right, so hydrosols, then the basics of a hydrosol. A hydrosol is made in a still. Now let me show y'all. Everyone here can see, but you folks can't see. I'm gonna turn. I've got my tiny little baby still here to demonstrate. Bring you down over by it, excuse me. So this is my little baby. Isn't it adorable? This is the most adorable little still. It is teeny tiny. It's this big, scale, it's hard to tell. So I have a 10-liter still over here, and I have a stainless steel still. I have a number of different stills. This is my baby still. Let me move that so you can see it too. This is my little baby still. I've had this for about 30 years. And this is a still that goes camping with me. If we have folks on here who have been on some of the Green Wisdom campouts, you will have seen this still in action. We have, whenever we go camping, we bring this still and we do a distillation of place. So we go around and harvest all of the aromatic plants in our area, and we do a distillation of that. We did that with my students yesterday with the garden out here, and this is a distillation of place of the Green Wisdom Garden yesterday. So I'll pass this around. This was made in this still yesterday, so you can just spray this on you, and we'll talk about the benefits of hydrosols. Oh, it's so good. So this is a combination of, let's see, there you go. So that is California native mugwort and lemon verbena and cardamom leaf and peppermint and desert lavender and oregano and thyme and yarrow, and I think that's everything. In that distillation, but it was what was up in the garden right now. So isn't that lovely? So, and with that, you can see that when we use hydrosols, even though they're a carrier of aromatic compounds, they're really quite light in their scent. It's not like a strong essential oil-based spray, which I will be sending around in just a little bit. This is the other. It smells so delicious. It was really, really lovely. This is the other distillation that we did yesterday, because we have those enormous lemongrass out there. There's so much lemongrass out there. If anyone ever wants lemongrass, come and harvest lemongrass. This is a hydrosol of lemongrass that we did also, so you can spray this. Now the lemongrass hydrosol, the one that you just smelled was made in this still. The lemongrass hydrosol was made in the still that I'm going to teach you how to do at home. All right. So let's look at the structure of a still then. This this is a basic, what's called a hydrodistillation unit, with a steam distillation unit, which is what we use to make essential oils. There would be well, it would be larger, and there would be an additional column right here, and then the head would be up on top of it. And in a steam distillation, we would have water down here. The water would come up through the column that's packed with herbs. The steam would come up through the herbs. The steam would come up and grab onto the aromatics and bring it down through this tube, down into this cooling coil. So there's a coil, this comes around and coils around and around and around, and there is water and ice here. I have a nifty little pump that circulates cold water here, but I didn't want to set it up today because I was just doing a little quick thing. So I've just got water in there, and then I'm putting ice and more water to keep this cold, because this is a cooling coil. This cooling coil was invented in the 11th century, almost 1,000 years ago, and we're still using the same process because it's a standard, it's a good tool that works really, really, really well. So it's just a simple coil going through there. So the steam then rises up in this, because this is a hydrodistillation unit used for making essential oils. We've got a combination of the lavender and water in the bowl here, and this is simmering as the steam rises from it, because when you're making a tea of an aromatic plant, you have that steam coming up. You can smell all of those essential oils being released. Well, that steam is being captured here, moving through here, cooled down, and then it's coming out this tube right here and into this, which is capturing. Here is the first catch of our lavender hydrosol. Now you'll see that it looks a little bit milky. See how it's kind of, it's got a little bit of what's called a milky quality. That leads to one of the other common names. So hydrosol is one of the most common names, but hydrolat is another term that you'll see, lat having that root word from Latin that means milk, right? So it's sort of a milky substance. So so that's what we're doing right now. We're just capturing that steam. We're generating steam, and we're capturing steam. We're turning the steam back into water, and then we're collecting that. And by doing that, we're capturing all of the aromatic compounds. Hi, Charlie. Hi, sweet girl. Oh, you good baby. So we're capturing all of those aromatic compounds, all of those low molecular weight compounds that can be captured by steam, and we're making them into a base that is low. Now, this one, you have to try this. I'll explain what it is later. Now, this is an essential oil-based spray. So there's a difference between having a spray that is a hydrosol like that and having essential oils that you put into water that you make into a spray. This is one of my favorites. This is a strong one, so be mindful. It's my cooling down because it's way too hot spray. So it's a combination of 3 essential oils. It's cypress and clary sage and peppermint. And so the combination of those are vasoconstrictive and cooling to the skin. But you can see how much stronger that is than the hydrosol, right? Hydrosols have a very, very small amount, a very low percentage of essential oils in them. And so that makes them something that you don't have to dilute, you don't have to be cautious about. The other benefit is that, so when we're looking at this distillation, might be a dumb question, but is this what I'm doing when I make my rose water mist? So if you buy, no, that's a great question. This is a great question. Terminology matters. We like to use correct terminology. You'll sometimes see another term called flower waters, right? So flower waters, you'll see as rose water, you'll see as orange blossom water. Those are 2 of the most common, and you'll see other ones. Technically, if it is a true hydrosol, it is generally referred to as a hydrosol or a hydrolat, because people who have gone through this process of proper distillation to make the finished product are going to want to let you know that this is the process that was used. If it says flower water, it is very likely that it's something more like that spray that went around, that it is an aromatic compound that has been added to water to make a water that is aromatic. And I say an aromatic compound because the other problem with those is that often the aromatic compounds are synthetic, because both orange blossom and rose, the two that we most often see as flower waters, those essential oils are very hard to get and very, very expensive. And they're rather easy to synthesize. And so you can make a synthetic rose fragrance oil. So fragrance oils are synthetic, essential oils are natural. Even rose is extracted in different ways that can make it even problematic, because sometimes you're getting an absolute, which is extracted with a solvent, and so there can be solvent residues in there. There's like all sorts of messiness that can come about. Got it, I make it on my stove with ice in the sea. This is exactly what I am showing you today. You are a step ahead of me. Agua de Florida, yeah, Florida water is the same method, yeah. No, and I'm so glad you asked the question. It's a great question. So let's look at then what you are discussing, because that's exactly the point that I want to bring up here. Not everyone has or wants to have or can get access to a proper still, right? And so this is the way, this is the method that we're looking at. This is the way that distillation happens, but you don't have to have a still to do distillation. Let's check on the content now. We have, so it's 4 ounces already. So we have 4 ounces of our hydrosol, and this has been on for a half an hour. Started at 10:45. So in a half an hour, I have 4 ounces of a really beautifully made hydrosol. The other thing that I want to point out here before I go into that is that when you read about or talk to hydrosol enthusiasts and essential oil purveyors, they will quite often say that you have to make a hydrosol with fresh plants only, and dried plants can't make a hydrosol. And I am showing that that is incorrect, because here I am making a hydrosol out of dried plants. I understand. Yeah, great. Yes, there are compounds in fresh plants that are going to come over the distillation process that may be more ephemeral, may be more delicate, that in the drying process, those are lost. But generally, those are not the compounds of primary interest anyway. You can make them with fresh plants, and they're going to be great. They're going to be wonderful. They'll be a better quality, more vibrant, more beautiful than dried plants, absolutely. And also, if you don't have access to fresh plants, you can absolutely make them with dried plants. That's my primary take home. All right, so let's look at what C. Weller was talking about in the pot, because this is what I want to show you. Coming over here. This is also a still. So if we think about these concepts in play with a still, we're looking at having water and plant material in a base, changing the form of the water, right? We're changing the water into steam. All you need to do is apply heat for that, right? So we can have water and plant making steam in a pot. Then we're going to capture that steam, and we're going to change the steam back to the water. That's the catch. And so for that, we are going to do a couple of things on the inside of this pot. I have a brick. I have a clean brick. And I put that in the base of the pot. And I have a clean glass container, and I'm going to put that on top of the brick. I'm not going to show you. You can imagine what that looks like. It's a brick with a cup on top of it. And then in that, I'm going to fill up to about a third of the way up. I'm going to fill this with water, and I'm going to put the plants around the cup. The cup is the receptacle. The cup here, excuse me, is this cup here. It is what is capturing the the hydrosol at the very end, right? So that doesn't have anything in it. That is going to be capturing everything. Whoopsie, whoopsie, get in there. The top, so what you need is you need a non-reactive pot. This pot is likely made of aluminum, but it is enamel lined. And enamel lining is like a glass coating. And so it's non-reactive on the inside. And so we have a non-reactive pot with a lid that is concave. It needs to have a curve to it. It can't be a flat lid, right? So this is a concave lid, and the top is not plastic, right? So concave lid, one piece metal top. We're going to put that upside down on top of the pot, and then we'll fill this concavity with ice. And so that is going to be replicating the cooling coil here, right? Because as the steam comes up, it's going to hit this surface, it's going to drop down, and it's going to drop into our receptacle here, collecting the hydrosol, collecting the steam. You can do that at home, given any type of a pot with those qualities, and have a really effective still made quite easily and rapidly. And you would be able to have, yesterday I made that Lemongrass Hydrosol. In that pot, we made 12 ounces of it in 2 hours. 12 ounces of hydrosol in 2 hours from the fresh lemongrass. Very quick and very easy to do. This one is faster because the total volume of liquid that we're working with is smaller, this little one that I've got here. The total volume of liquid is smaller, and so that whole process of boiling and going to steam and cooling down is just faster, just because we're talking about a smaller volume of water. Larger volume water is going to take longer, and that's why I didn't set up the 10-liter still to do this, because we'd be here all day with that. So the small still works beautifully for that. I'm going to turn off the water for the small still because we are at 3/4 of a cup of this. So this is what I want to also talk to you about is that lemongrass hydrosol. Wasn't that nice? Mm-hmm. What did it smell like to you? Lemongrass. Okay, no, that's good. That's good. I want you to pass it around. And I'm going to give you another thing to think about when you're spraying it. Spray. Fruit Loops.
Oh, I did smell that. I forgot.
It's Fruit Loops. It is totally smells exactly like Fruit Loops. Isn't that funny?
It does smell like Fruit Loops.
It smells totally. It is Fruit Loops. It's so funny. Yeah, so your brain goes, it's amazing how suggestible we are. Your brain goes from, oh, it's a beautiful hydrosol of fresh, organic lemongrass to Fruit Loops. Let's look at this hydrosol that we have just made.
Julie, did you mention how much herb you would put in the pot?
I haven't, and it's a great question that I was hoping someone would ask. Because it depends. There are guidelines. I'm going to let you just continue because you're just not done yet as it cools down. You're looking at extracting and concentrating, hopefully, the aromatic compounds in the plant that you're using. And optimally, if we were to have a set answer to that question, we'd have to know exactly how much aromatic stuff, how much low molecular weight stuff that can be carried by steam is going to be present in that plant. And that's going to widely vary among plants. So even though you will read that people will say, well, this amount of plant material to this amount of water, that is arbitrary. It's absolutely arbitrary because it absolutely depends on the plant. That also comes into play if it's fresh or dried, because the volume of water in there is going to dilute the essential oils. If you're using a dried plant, it's going to have a higher concentration of those essential oils because there's no water in there. So use a whole bunch. I'm just kind of letting go of a lot of the things that I was taught about distillation, because in practice it turns out to be, no. These are things we often have in herbal medicine, in medicine making, in recipes, in cooking. We do all sorts of things where we say, this is the law and you have to do it this way. And then when people ask questions like, why? Turns out, well, there's just because that's the way that we've done it. Yeah, isn't it brilliant? I did not come up with that idea with the pot, but it is a brilliant idea, and it's very, very easy to make. So play around with aromatic plants around your house. Now this amount, what I used in here, this is hot. What I used in this pot for making this volume of what we now have is about 6 ounces of hydrosol was 1 ounce of lavender, of dried lavender. Okay, so 1 ounce of dried lavender made 6 ounces of hydrosol, almost like a 1-to-5 ratio for a tincture. I'm going to put this in a spray bottle and send this around so you can play with this. And what I want you to look at also in the bottle, I'll kind of carry this around. Let's see if you can see it here too. You can see, this is actually really cool. I'm hoping you can see this in the thing. Can you see little droplets along here? Can you see little droplets, or is that light hitting that wrong? The light might be limiting your ability to see what I see here. What I see on here, and what I'm going to show to people in the classroom, is that there are droplets of essential oil in here. And if I left this overnight and allowed all of the dissolved aromatics here to rise up to the top, I might be able to skim off a couple of drops of some essential oil in there. So it shows this is lavender from Pacific Botanicals up in Oregon, and it's beautiful. But yeah, check out the oil droplets along the side there. See the sparkly little droplets along there? Right there. You can see the light kind of glinting off of them, and you can see it kind of along the top.
I see one on the top. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, on the glass. Yep. Ooh, yeah, there's a lot.
So there's a lot, yes, hanging onto the side. It is very, very aromatic. It was nice in the sunshine. You can see the sun glinting off of it, but you can see it kind of holding on to the glass. A little bit on the top of the water. And you can smell it. So, lavender hydrosol. You can make it at home. Oops, there's a, didn't realize. Dried herbs. Yeah, that is the thing. A lot of people say that you can't use dried herbs for it, but yeah, you can. You absolutely can. I have a 10-gallon still. This is a, I think it's a 1 liter. I've had this one for about 30 years, so I don't remember. I got this this little baby still from Elfin Gardens Herb Farm in Ojai, up by San Luis Obispo. So this is a tiny little one. Sue oil. What do you think about consuming of hydrosols internally, like lavender or rose? I always feel strange, but seeing the no still method, it doesn't seem bad to take it internally. Exactly, Abahita. Yeah, I'm fine with using this internally. And you can take some of this, you can take like a teaspoon of this lavender hydrosol and add it to like lemonade and make like a lavender lemonade. Or you can add it to a tea. Maybe you're making a lovely calming, soothing tea, and you add a little bit of lavender just to change the flavor of it, right? To give it a little bit of that lavender quality. Absolutely, you can do that because the concentration of essential oils in this is so low that this is very, very, very safe. As I put it in there, it started to, well, there's a lot of essential oil in here. Okay. Oh, so good. Oh, that's very, very nice. Oh, that's very nice. So consuming, yeah, I think that they're great, especially, and rose water, of course, rose water is used all over in so many different cultures, use it as a flavoring agent, absolutely safe. Same with lavender, anything that you can generally ingest as a tea, you can make into a hydrosol and use it internally. The internal use of the flower waters that are the ones that are most commonly available on the market, I am less okay about, but lots of people do it, right? Because they want that fragrance. I usually use for my face as a toner or mist. Yes, so this is one of the uses of the hydrosols. A true hydrosol made this way. We're not talking about the flower waters with the essential oils. This is another artifact of distillation, is that when you distill all of that, so we're bringing all those low molecular weight, tiny little compounds that everything that is small enough and light enough to be carried by steam is passing over in the steam. Everything that is too large, too heavy, too complex is left behind in the still. This is the process of distillation that also makes water and makes alcohol. Everything that is distilled is a process of this exact process. I could use this still to distill alcohol if I wanted to. I could also make my own distilled water using this still. Just putting water in here and boiling it, the steam would come up and come down there, and I would collect the water as distilled water, right? That's a distillation unit. Now, when we make distilled water, the water that we end up with at the end, this is effectively a distilled water with aromatics in it, right? And the qualities of a distilled water generally has a lower pH. It is more acidic because the things that make water more alkaline are the minerals, right? And minerals are left behind in the distillation process. They're too big and too heavy. They cannot come over distillation. Distilled water specifically is demineralized. It's had those minerals removed. And so when we spray it on our skin, as Abhita was saying, you do need smell media. You do, because it's really lovely in here. Yeah, as Abhita was saying, as a toner for the face, it is beautiful used for that. Any kind of heat conditions in the skin, just generally for the skin, using hydrosols as a spray on the skin is really, really nice because that low pH is something that skin really likes. Skin likes slightly acidic media on there. And so you've got a really pure distilled water with a low pH and those aromatics in there. Yeah, the skin's gonna love that. Absolutely. And you're not getting that, again, with flower waters because they have not gone through the distillation process. Other uses for hydrosols, I most often use them as ingredients in other recipes. And I've talked about this a lot in classes. Whenever we're looking at a recipe where we have an ingredient like water or oil or vinegar or glycerin or anything that we also use as a solvent for herbal extraction, extract herbs into it and use that because that's going to bump up the qualities of the product that you're making. So here, if you have a recipe that uses water for making a lotion or a cream or making a glycerite. So here, our rose glycerite, the rose glycerite that I make for the shop, I use dried plants, I use dried roses for that, but instead of water to dilute the glycerin, I use rose hydrosol to dilute the glycerin, and that gives more of the aromatics into the finished glycerite. So if I was making a lavender glycerite, I could use this hydrosol as the water portion. If I was making a dried plant, we dilute that about 75% or 25%. I could use that. It's another use for the hydrosols. Yeah, just as an ingredient in your recipes. And then using them internally. Also hygiena. When you say lemongrass, is it the same as lemon balm? No. So lemongrass is a true grass, Cymbopogon flexuosus. So it's a big, big, big grass. Looks just like grass, but it grows. Ours is about 5.5 feet tall right now. Whereas lemon balm is a tiny little mint family plant growing. Very different chemistry also. Lemon balm hydrosol would be massively different from lemongrass hydrosol. Also very, very light. It's hard to retain those aromatic compounds from lemon balm because the chemistry is so different. Oh, there you go. And there's everyone answering. Oh, you didn't even need me there. There you go. Hi, Teresa. You are not late. You are exactly on time. But you did miss most of the class. Let's see. So anyway, so there you go. Now that Teresa's here, we can leave. So that is the process of distillation. Whether you want to use a still or if you want to make it yourself, the process is exactly the same, and you're not limited by a lack of a still. Any questions about that? Does it seem pretty clear? Y'all can pour some of this for yourselves. There's little bottles right there, and I even printed out for you labels that say Lavender Hydrosol, so you can grab some of that before you go. If you'd rather have some of the lemongrass essential oil, I do have, not essential oil hydrosol, I have that. There. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Abahita. Yeah, it's really fun. This was, again, about once a month, the classes that I have for you are just classes that I did for my students yesterday. I'm all set up for them. I've got everything ready to go. It's all in my brain, so it's just easy to roll it over and just give you. So it's kind of like you're getting a little bit of the apprenticeship. Only limited by your imagination. Exactly, Sue. You could even, Sue, this would be a great thing to throw into the foot bath, right? Having a little bit of that lavender hydrosol, or even after the foot bath, just for something that's more calming. Hi, Lori. You make it sound so easy. Well, totally, yes. And but if you think about setting up the pot, it is really easy. The whole process. That's just me going on and on and on. It's just a brick in a pot with a jar and glass and ice on the top and a heat source. It's so good. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Yes. Make a lavender hydrosol today. Yay! I want to hear about all of your hydrosol making explorations. Yeah. All right. There you go. There's your class for the day. It was a quick one. Teresa, I was just joking about leaving when you got here, but there we are. It really is, Sue. Yeah, absolutely. So Lori, I would love to know if you actually do it, because it does sound intimidating, but just do it. Just do it. Like so many things. Lori, you know this. You know how it looks harder than it actually is. All right. Good night. Yes, Sue, go to sleep. It's the middle of the night over there. Go to sleep. If there's the reminder on Instagram, I'll try to do the reminder on Instagram more often. I know. Marcos, hi. Flexiosis is easily identified because stalks have reddish color like citronelle. There you go. There's our resident botanist on there. Thank you, Marcos. You're always so handy with additional information. Okay. Love you all. So good to see some of those names there and some new names. And I will see y'all next week. Okay. Can rose and dried lavender go well together? So absolutely. This one last thing, and then seriously, I'm going to end. Yes, you can. This is very much like making a tea, right? You just throw stuff together and make a tea. Sometimes that works really well, sometimes it doesn't, but generally, as long as you know the components really well, you can throw it together. It's the soup making method of medicine making, right? Same thing, if you have aromatic dried plants, you have roses and dried lavender, you could throw some chamomile in there. You could throw some elderflower, a little bit, but it would be there. You could throw, anything else, an aromatic plant that you want to throw in there, not just flowers. You could throw some lemongrass in there, dried lemongrass, or not eucalyptus. I was going to say eucalyptus. That would be weird. Don't do eucalyptus. Jasmine, dried jasmine is never very aromatic. So, but if you could also combine fresh, if you had fresh jasmine growing, not around here at this time of year, but earlier on the year, you can also combine fresh and dried plants too. Yeah, ignore all of the, ooh, you have to do it this way stuff that you'll see online. I made hydrosol like this, but we always learn something new. Things like, oh yeah, you're welcome, Marcos. Yes. Rosemary was awesome, Lori. Yes. You know, it also makes a great hydrosol. Super easy for you to do, and you may have this in your kitchen at home. Then I swear I'm stopping completely. Citrus fruit. Take lemon or orange or lime or grapefruit or whatever you want and chop it up and put it in that pot and make a hydrosol of lemons. It is beautiful. It's so beautiful and ridiculously easy. There. Yeah, go make it right now. Good. All right, I'm gonna let you go. You go make it right now. Mwah. I love you all. I will see you next week. Okay, bye-bye.